This conference will now be recorded.
Local complications like acute fluid collections, pancreatic peripancreatic necrosis, pseudocyst, pancreatic abscess, pancreatic ascites. Acute fluid collections occurs during the early stage in 30 to 50% of cases. Most of them are peripancreatic, lack a wall of granulation or fibrous tissue. This is mainly due to local release of the active enzymes which causes tissue necrosis, digestion of the pancreatic tissue, so that there is no clear-cut wall endothelial lining. Only digested fluid, digested protein materials, pancreatic tissue is collected as fluid. And second thing is there is release of inflammatory mediators, so that pancreatic edema will occur and third space loss also will occur due to increased permeability of the vessels. So there is peripancreatic fluids, pancreatic edema is common. More than 50% regresses spontaneously. After inflammation is subsided, the inflammatory mediators will come down and then there is absorption of the fluids will occur and all the acute process will resolve within weeks. If they are infected by secondary infections, bacterial infection most commonly, this is the main issue after acute pancreatitis, which causes much more complications like pancreatic necrosis. Abscess formation. So if it is infected, the fluid which is present around the pancreatic tissue, if it is infected by secondary infections, we should drain it. Must and should we should drain it. Otherwise, patient may land up in septic shock. So there is external drainage plus antibiotic tissue, which is done under ultrasound guided or CT guidance, or if the patient is not stable, if need any urgency, we will try it ultrasound or CT. Somewhat quite stable, if can induce GA or spinal anesthesia, then we go for surgery by laparotomy. Pancreatic necrosis is diffuse or focal area of non-viable parenchyma, which is typically associated with peripancreatic fat necrosis. Sterile is divided into surgical or non-surgical. Infected means due to peripancreatic edema infected by secondary infections, which requires intervention within 3 to 4 weeks. In pancreatic necrosis, if it is not progress, we can wait and watch. Patient condition is stable, no vital deterioration, we can wait for 4 to 6 weeks. If patient condition is not stable and patient condition it is deteriorating, immediately we can go for intervention. In pancreatic necrosis, within 2 weeks of pancreatic necrotic tissue intervention, there is high mortality, it is up to 60%. After 4 weeks, mortality is around 8% only. So immediate intervention includes high mortality rate. But patient condition is not stable, there is no option, we will go for surgery. We can let it out the necrotic tissue. We will put the drains input drain, output collection drain, two drains in the pancreatic area. One is for irrigation and another is for collection. We will check for the pancreatic necrotic tissue every 48 hours because it is continuous process. We don't know where it stops. If necrotic tissue is still present after surgery, we will go for again surgery and remove the necrotic tissue. So there is repeated laparotomies is needed and debridement may be needed. So if we go for laparotomy in a pancreatic necrotic tissue for pancreatic necrosis, we don't close the rectus. We just close the skin, put the drains. After 48 hours, again we check. If any necrotic tissue is there, we will go for again debridement. Till there is no necrotic tissue is identified, and then only we can close the abdomen. This is the pathophysiology of pancreatic necrosis infection. Mucosal injury and reperfusion injury, impaired local immunity and bacterial overgrowth due to inflammation of the bowel. There is permeability of the intestines, so that because many organisms colonize in the small bowel, large bowel, most of them are in large bowel. These are natural commensals in large bowel. But if patient condition is immune compromised, not so much immune potent, then these commensals become infective organisms. They migrate from the large bowel to the stomach and peritoneal cavity. So these cause the necrotic infection. There is increased permeability of the intestines, bacterial translocation, and necrosis of the infection, necrosis of pancreatic infective material. Because it is very friable, delicate material due to inflammatory mediators. Pancreatic necrosis also occurred by blood clot dissemination, somewhere infection which transmitted via blood, direct contamination while you go for any surgical intervention or any interventional procedures like percutaneous drainage by ultrasound guided or CT guided, which may transmit the bacteria to the infected location, which causes necrosis. The acute inflammatory injury that occurs during the first 48 to 72 hours causes mucosal ischemia and then reperfusion injury. Ischemia also there is decreased oxygen supply, anaerobic medium, increased proliferation of the bacteria, anaerobic bacteria, because most of the large bowel present with these anaerobic organisms. Both effects favor bacterial overgrowth because they alter the local immunity. Mucosal ischemia also produces an increase in permeability of intestinal cells, which is initiated 72 hours after the acute episode, but it is typically peaks in first 1 week later. After acute pancreatitis, after 1 week of onset of pancreatitis, there is much more increased permeability of the intestinal cells. These transient episodes of bacteremia are associated with pancreatic necrosis infection. Less frequently, distant sources of infection such as pneumonia, lung infections, vascular or urinary tract infection associated with central lines, because in acute pancreatitis severe stages, patient's hemodynamic condition is very poor. So we will go for central lines for fluid supplementation and inotrope supplementation support. These central lines may cause infection, and catheters like Foley's catheter, or if any percutaneous drainage catheter is there, that may cause infection, increased bacteremia and pancreatic necrosis. Finally, local contamination after surgery or interventional procedures such as ERCP. ERCP itself causes pancreatitis. Zebra. Mm. Mm. Timeline angle ला होगा. ఎందుకని? Mm. Sir, record. Start చేస్తున్నా. Sorry. Pseudocyst of pancreas is one of the most common complications with pancreatitis. Collection of the pancreatic juice enclosed by a non-epithelialized wall of fibrous and granulation tissue. It is an extrapancreatic, most on the lesser sac side. Seen after 4 to 6 weeks after the acute pancreatitis. May be communicated with pancreatic ductal system. Many resolve spontaneously. Because of lack of epithelial lining, it is called pseudocyst. This is mainly due to the autoactivation of the pancreatic enzymes, which causes pancreatic tissue necrosis, pancreatic digestion, proteolysis. This digested pancreatic tissue is collected as a cyst, which is seen in the lesser sac, mostly seen after 4 to 6 weeks after the onset of pancreatitis, acute pancreatitis. Pseudocyst is seen both acute and chronic pancreatitis. Most commonly involved body and tail. Symptoms are due to mainly pressure symptoms. Increase in the size, it compresses the surrounding structures. So abdominal pain, early satiety, fullness. If it is involved head, which causes obstruction to the sphincter of body. For example, where the bile duct and pancreatic duct open, so that obstructive jaundice may be occur. Complications of pseudocyst. There is any infection into pseudocyst, erosion of the splenic vessels, leads to hemorrhage into the pseudocyst and cyst rupture. The fluid which is present in the cyst enter into the peritoneal cavity, which is more dangerous because all are enzymes, activated enzymes, which cause tissue damage. Mortality is also high. Pancreatitis, one of the complications is aneurysm formation, erosion of the vessels, that is splenic branches which supply to the pancreas and veins. So when there is any cyst formation in the pancreas, these vessels may rupture or tear and leads to bleeding into the cyst. That is erosion of the vessels leads to the hemorrhage into the cyst. Investigations. There is persistent increase in amylase levels, that is persistent amylasemia. Ultrasound abdomen. On clinical examination also there is epigastric fullness is there. ERCP, because due to pressure, blockade of the sphincter of body, and this periampulla. While you go for ERCP to resolve the obstructive jaundice by putting the stent, the CBD, CT scan, CT scan is useful to know the thickness of the wall, location, content, any tissue necrosis. This is mainly seen in the venous phase and portal phase. Endoscopic ultrasound. This is useful to confirmation by taking the biopsy. This is diagnostic and therapeutic purpose also. When do we can intervene on the pseudocyst of the pancreas? There are some indications for intervention. Pseudocyst, one of the complication is infection. If there is any infection, it is in fluid which is present in the cyst becomes abscess. So it is very dangerous sign. So we will go for intervention. While patient is symptomatic like intractable pain, that is continuous pain, while giving painkillers also it is not resolving. And severe pressure symptoms like bloating, abdominal distension, vomitings. There is increase in size of the cyst. Cyst size more than 6 centimeters. Wall thickness is more than 6 mm. It is long lasting for more than 6 weeks. After onset, it resolves within 6 weeks. But if it is persistent after 6 weeks and cyst wall is 6 mm in thickness and cyst size is more than 6 centimeter, these are all indications for intervention. Treatment aspect, external drainage, External drainage is by ultrasound guided or CT guided under guidance. We will put the catheter or needle in the pseudocyst directly, and then we can aspirate the fluid. Sometimes we can put pigtail catheter, and then we can measure the amount of the fluid daily. If it comes down, there is no drain, then we can remove. Internal drainage. For external drainage, there is complication is pancreatico-cutaneous fistula. Because there is formation of permanent tract where we put the catheter, it leads to the formation of the permanent tract fibrous tissue, so it becomes fistula. Internal drainage. Percutaneous catheter based transgastric puncture and stent placement. Endoscopic transgastric stent placement with posterior wall of the stomach and cyst wall, where the cyst is present posterior to the stomach. So we can put the stent in the cyst communicating with the posterior wall of the stomach, which is opens into the stomach. So there is continuous drainage will occur. Endoscopic transgastric or transduodenal puncture and multiple stent placements. If it is involved body and tail, we will go for the transgastric way. If it is involved head, we go for the transduodenal stent placement. These are metallic stents. These are the different types: covered stents and uncovered stents. By putting this stent and then the dilatation of the stent, which is placed in the posterior wall of the stomach and cyst. So this is useful by continuous drainage. Surgical methods: cystogastrostomy or cystojejunostomy. Most of the times we can go for the cystogastrostomy. If the cyst is large, mainly present in the tail of the pancreas, we will go for the cystojejunostomy. Cystoduodenostomy is very rare because second part of the duodenum, which is retroperitoneal, fixed structure. So we'll go for the most of the times cystojejunostomy. Sometimes we'll go for the resection of the tail of the pancreas and splenectomy. Cystogastrostomy, we can do it by laparoscopic method or open laparotomy method. By using the circular staplers and longitudinal staplers. In this, there is opening of the posterior wall of the stomach directly, and then we can staple the posterior wall of the stomach and cyst wall. In laparotomy, you open the anterior wall of the stomach first, and then open the posterior wall of the stomach, and both posterior wall and cyst wall are sutured together and then close the anterior wall of the stomach. One of the complication is peritonitis, because any leakage from the cystogastrostomach site or cystogenostomy site. Pancreatic ascites, pancreatic juice entering into the peritoneal cavity from the duct disruption or cyst rupture or leaking of the pseudocyst after cystogenostomy or cystogastrostomia also. There is high MLH levels, that is more than 50,000 international units. Generally, these levels are in the blood or serum MLH levels up to 60 international units is normal, but more than 500 international units is indicates pancreatitis. But in pancreatic ascites, in the ascitic fluid, the MLH level is more than 50,000 international units. Initial treatment is non-operative. By putting the parenteral nutrition, stopping enteral nutrition, giving rest to the pancreas, nasogastric drainage by putting Rayleigh tube, anti-secretory agents, somatostatin and its analogs, octreotide. These will secrete the pancreatic secretions. By reducing the pancreatic secretions, there is tissue damage is very low, so that the leaking point itself become fibrotic and close itself. Repeated paracentesis by putting the needle in the abdomen, the right iliac fossa or left iliac fossa. These are all resolved by conservative management within 2 to 3 weeks. If it is persistent or recurrent ascites, we will go for redo cystogastrostomy by endoscopy, or we will go for surgery. Another treatment, endoscopic pancreatic sphincterotomy. So there is increased drainage into the bowel. It is usually done at the 3 o'clock position, where the pancreatic duct open at the ampulla, the duodenum. By putting the stent, it is depends upon the condition. Surgical procedures, recession, where the tail of the pancreatic pseudocyst, if it is leaks, we will go for recession of the tail of the pancreas, or we go for cystogenostomy, Roux-en-Y. drainage. Pseudoaneurysm. Pseudo means false, false aneurysms. Pseudocyst or pancreatic necrosis. Erode into the adjacent vessels. Communicate ductal system. Leading into the pancreatic duct, that is Hemosuccus pancreaticus. It may rupture into the peritoneal cavity. Causes hemoperitoneum. Rupture into the pseudocyst. Cystic hemorrhage. Treatment includes interventional radiology by angiographic embolization. If it is involving head of the pancreas, if it involving the tail of the pancreas, we go for distal pancreatectomy. So this is about acute pancreatitis. Next topic, chronic pancreatitis. Chronic pancreatitis is an incurable chronic inflammatory condition. Repeated attacks of acute pancreatitis, which is long lasting for more than 3 months, intermittently, with exacerbations, continuous pain abdomen. Chronic inflammatory condition that is multifactorial in etiology, highly variable in its presentation, and it is very challenging for treatment. Chronic pancreatitis remains an enigmatic process of uncertainty in pathogenesis, unpredictable clinical course, and no proper treatment. This inflammatory disease characterized by progressive conversion of the pancreatic tissue, that is parenchyma, into fibrous tissue. Peak age of presentation is 35 to 55 years. The process of fibrosis with consecutive loss of pancreatic parenchyma leads to the exocrine insufficiency, maldiation. There is lack of pancreatic enzymes leads to the decreased digestion and absorption, proteins, fats, so maldiation. and there is endocrine pancreatic deficiency also, leads to the diabetes mellitus because of endocrine cells destruction. Ganglion cells of islets destroyed by continuous inflammatory process. The heterogeneity of patient population, the subjective nature of pain, and a poor understanding of its pathophysiology. These are all obstacles for the management. There are differences in the diagnostic criteria, European, American, different diagnostic criteria. And within 48 hours, after 48 hours, nutritional intake, regional nutrition, alcohol consumption, and drug-induced causes. These are all account for variations in the frequency of diagnosis. Overall incidence of the disease has risen progressively over the past 50 years. In 1878, Frederick proposed that a general chronic interstitial pancreatitis results from excessive alcoholism, that is drunkard's pancreas. Even abstinence from the excessive alcohol consumption, it seems to be the causative agent in most cases, because already there is destruction of the pancreas has started. After withholding also there is continuation of the destruction process, so it won't stop after stopping of alcohol consumption. Acute pancreatitis, most common cause is GB stones or CVD stones, biliary stones. Second cause is alcohol, but in chronic pancreatitis, most common cause is alcohol. It is 70%. Idiopathic, is including tropical pancreatitis, 20%. Other causes, hereditary, hyperparathyroidism, hypertriglyceridemia, hyperparathyroidism, there is increased calcium levels, formation of these stones, pancreatic stones in the duct, pancreatic tissue calcification. So there is destruction of the tissue, hypertriglyceridemia, increased cholesterol levels, autoimmune pancreatitis, self-induced antibodies and antigen reaction, tissue destruction, obstruction, maybe due to calcifications or any external obstruction, trauma to the pancreas, mostly seen in children, pancreatic divisum, congenital anomaly, classification of chronic pancreatitis. Chronic calcific pancreatitis. Etiology is alcohol, hereditary, tropical, hyperlipidemia, hypercalcemia, drug-induced, and idiopathic. Chronic obstructive pancreatitis. Pancreatic tumors, benign or malignant. Myocardial head, body, obstruction with pancreatic duct. Ductal strictures. It may be iatrogenic or traumatic or infective. Gallstones or trauma-induced pancreatic divisum. Chronic inflammatory pancreatitis, unknown etiology. Chronic autoimmune pancreatitis associated with autoimmune disorders like primary sclerosing cholangitis, fibrosis of the CBD, Sjogren's syndrome, is one of the most severe autoimmune disease, Sjogren's syndrome. Primary biliary cirrhosis, asymptomatic pancreatic fibrosis, without any symptoms, pancreatic parenchyma, conversion into pancreatic, that is fibrotic tissue. This is due to chronic alcoholism, endemic in asymptomatic residence in tropical climates. Pathogenesis of chronic pancreatitis. Burning out of the organ. There is chronic destruction of the pancreas. So most of the parenchyma tissue converted into fibrotic tissue. Conservative approaches for repeated acute pancreatitis. Oxidative stress hypothesis. Toxic metabolic theory. Stone and duct obstruction theory. Necrosis fibrosis theory. Sentinel acute pancreatitis event hypothesis. These are all hypotheses because there is no actual pathological mechanism as identified. These are all hypotheses. Histopathology, induration and nodular scarring and lobular regions of fibrosis, infiltration of mononuclear inflammatory cells, lymphocytes, monocyte lymphocytes. throughout the interstitium of the pancreas. Extensive sheets of fibrosis. These are all. Loss of acinar tissue with preservation of islet tissue in scarred areas. So I will stop here. We'll continue next class. Please put your attendance in the chat box. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.